Hey, what's up, everyone? My name is Lionel, and I'm your host for LT Productions. And you are watching I Watch You Watch. We are covering Beyond the Gates. This is week July 21st through the 25th. I think this is like we're up to episode 97 at the end of the week. But I appreciate everyone for coming to my channel. You see, I'm in a different location and all that. I had technical difficulties everywhere I could think of just to try to record this video. But I'm here and I want to talk about this week. Please go ahead and like this video. Go on and subscribe if you are new, and you are so welcome to leave your comments below about this week's episodes. There's a lot of different things that happened this week that you're like, ooh, we gotta get into. All right, so without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so I really don't know where to start at because I got notes everywhere, but I think I'm gonna start off with Jacob. Jacob is left wondering what was going on with Smitty. He's not opening up anymore, and it's just like he turned me on to this case and now just shut the lights off of me. He's going around, he talked with Martin about, okay, well, he was interested in other stuff and now I don't know what's going on. Martin put on the same ride or die type of situation with Jacob, because he's like, oh, you're just being just like Smitty was to me, da-da-da-da. So there's no case there. He talks to Naomi as to what's going on. I'm not getting anything from Martin, I'm not getting anything from Smitty and all that. And she basically is saying, quit hunting around for something that you know nothing about. And I felt like this week, Naomi was being very manipulative. I think she's been trained this way, the Dupree way, because it's like, well, Martin is family, Smitty is family. Why are you getting involved like this? We family first. And Jacob was like, well, we are officials, you and me, and we took oaths as far as law and all this stuff. She wasn't trying to hear all that. So all I can say is, I can't say that. I think I'm a little bit cringe when it comes to Duprees. Duprees are very high mighty, but I just think that there are different, how can I say this, specks, blemishes within the family crest, within Fairmont Crest. You know, it's just like, y'all doing too much. Y'all go above the law. You need favors for this. You do stuff. You don't really pay the crimes. Da-da-da-da-da. It's just like, okay, what is going on here? Maybe some people have a right to feel some of the way towards you about what you do, what y'all do sometimes. I don't know. But that was just really cringe to see Naomi do that to her husband. We're the priests, we're this, da-da-da-da-da. What do y'all think about that? That was kind of, nope. Naomi later on, she found out, she went to the Duprees, to her grandma and grandpa's, and told them, you know, Martin's kind of fishing around about something I don't really know. Is there something I need to know? And Vernon and Anita told them, yes, there is. And they talked about the unalivings that Martin did. Well, one, which was Kenneth's brother, and then what happened to Kenneth when he came back into town. And of course, what hurt her the most is knowing Bill's involvement in all of this, especially when she was starting to warm back up to him and to know that he's just like this, da-da-da-da-da. But she knows that she's going to have to hide this from Jacob. So obviously we're about to see some mess happen between Naomi and Jacob. Jacob is by the book, and Naomi protects her family. And they do kind of think that they're above the law, and I think we got to talk about that. Nicole, she does visit Ted and really gets into his tale about his involvement in what Martin was going through. And she made the announcement of, you know, for me, kind of sort of trying to figure out if I really want a marriage with you anymore. You just really sealed the deal that there's never going to be a possibility of that happening again. Ted said, well, you're just really hiding behind all of this and not really dealing with what's really in front of you as far as our marriage. I understand what Nicole is coming from. You have been living 20 plus years in deception towards me. More stuff that you were keeping from me. You say that it was best that the least people know will be that you don't have to be someone that's, what is it called? Accomplice to what's going on. I think that's still a poor excuse for me, Ted. And right now, Nicole is dealing with someone who has pulled the rug from up under her. And y'all still can't be truthful. It's just got to come out at the worst inconvenient times for y'all. That's where she's coming from. And I think that that should be acknowledged. And y'all need to really correct that. Danny, she ends up learning what happened. And she thanks Martin for saving Vernon's life. I wondered how Danny would take it, but I don't think Danny has connected some of the things that are going on because they still made them go to Bill's wedding. And then Danny did what she did and all that good stuff. You know, I think that that's kind of, you know, a little bit crazy and a little bit rude that they did all of this just to try to protect the secret, but whatever. Maybe the writers aren't going to go there, but it's in the back of my mind of, okay, the Duprees really got punked out by Bill, as I said in last week's episode. So it's just like, yeah. We're going to go to this hospital, y'all. But beforehand, or maybe this was last week, I don't know. But anyways, just to catch up, if we didn't catch up with Haley. Not Haley, what's her name? Allison. This is Chelsea's ex, which really wasn't an ex, it was just, you were with this couple. But anyways, Allison done got something going on with her head. She's bleeding or whatever, and she went into Orphans, of all places, and found Chelsea. They get her to the hospital and work on her. Madison's not really feeling it whatsoever. She feels like something is up with Allison and all this good stuff. Chelsea was like, well, I think that we need to talk with my cousin Martin, because what Allison said happened is that she fell on the curb. We can do stuff to get the curb together. And then finally Allison confessed that it was her husband Craig that did this to her. She didn't want to admit that. I think she's lying. What y'all think? So then Chelsea was like, felt empathy for her, and then also said, you know, we should get Bill on retainer for you to help you. And she freaked out and she didn't want any help. In a way, how she reacted, it could have been twofold. Meaning this: she could be actually really scared / terrified of her husband and what he might do. So Chelsea said, well, you know, I never took him as to being an abuser. He just seems a little boring or bland, opposite your personality and all that, but nothing like that. Or she really doesn't want to dig into all of this because we'll find out that she's really lying. I'm gonna go with the latter. But y'all can let me know, because she's playing all these stunts and all this, and Madison not buying it. And she's looking at Chelsea like, what are you doing? Trying to be up under this girl. And she said, well, I couldn't just let her come to the hospital on her own or whatever. But again, she did come up there, went to Orphans of all places, but whatever. At this point, Chelsea's ready to cut off Allison. I think under the request of Madison, and also because Allison just freaked out on Chelsea even mentioning having Bill as her attorney. Eva and Kat. Eva tries to get, well, what Eva did is use Ted's phone to come to Ted's hotel room. Of course, Kat did really grill her about, well, not grill her about that, got in her tail about that. But Ted wanted to know what was going on and why did you use the phone. She apologized and all that, but she knew that that was going to be the only way to get Kat here. Eva seemed like she was about to tell Ted what Kat did to her. Kat was trying to run up out of there. I knew you was. That's the only thing I probably disagree about Kat. Kat can do certain things that aren't really good, but at the same time, I understand her. It's weird. It's kind of weird at how I view things with her. But anyways, when you thought that she was about to tell Ted about what Kat did to her, she said that they were able to renew their license. She explained part of the situation, and she sweet talked them into allowing them to get the license and all that. Eva saved the day. Hey. Of course, Kat is not thrilled about that. So, of course, after Eva leaves and Ted congratulates her, Kat goes through her normal rant about what Eva is. Should I talk about them? Oh, no. We're going to head over to Jacob again because they're using him a lot more these days. They go over to Nicole. But is Kat there at the time? Kat was over there. However, Jacob is there to question Nicole about a complaint that Leslie has filed. in regards to the assaults and how Leslie she's been playing white woman. And she's been playing Karen, I'll just say that much. And Nicole doesn't really say anything or give herself up in regards to all this. But he said Leslie named Ted as someone who should be a reliable witness, but Ted would not comply willingly to this thing. So Jacob basically wants to let it go because he doesn't really see anything substantial. Nicole goes over to Leslie's and she wants to see what's going on. I think Leslie has showed Ted the bruises and he doesn't believe it either. But Nicole goes over there and then she was able to touch her neck and know that she had used makeup and all that stuff. And I know I heard Nicole said, next time you won't need makeup. Get her, Nicole. Get her. Get her again. Stomp her 12 feet down the ground. I don't care. Leslie and Ted, they meet up. And she ends up slipping about what Kat did to Eva. He doesn't believe it, but he's like, no, you need to go ask her. Da, 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 da. Or what Eva did to Kat. Or Kat did to Eva. Yeah, all that good stuff. I don't know if he's going to confront her. I'm sure he will. They usually don't really give Kat the benefit of the doubt. They really want Kat to have a relationship with Eva. Let's see. Nicole, blah, blah, blah. We talked about the Chelsea thing. Da, 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 da. We'll talk about that a little bit later. At the hospital again, Derek comes up there to visit Shanice, but Ashley is trying to make Derek jealous by trying to fall all over Andre. But they already catch on to that mess, and Shanice kind of bursts her bubble and all that good stuff. And she's like, keep me out of y'all mess, but I still like his company and all that, da 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 da. Laurel and Dina show up at the Dupree's home, Sharon and Tracy. They said that they really want to do this reunion, but of course they still on their own high horses, thinking that Anita's on another level of high horseness. I know I just made up a word, but it's just like they want to do this, and you think that you would deserve an apology, da 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 da. But let me bow down and all this. It's just stupid. Anita's still not with it about doing this reunion. Vernon interjects, does his sweet talk, and now Anita's a part of it. We see her later on in the week. She's practicing her moves. We know next week there's supposed to be the actual concert. So I'm glad to see that, and I'm ready to see that. And next week is the 100th. I think it's either Tuesday or Wednesday. I don't know if they're doing anything special because I've read the previews and it doesn't sound like it's going to be, but whatever. Nicole and Ted, we talked about him. Danny, da 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 da. Martin does visit with Nicole, and he tells her about Kenneth's unaliving. And at this point, she's like, I'm here for you. I'm going to help you. I'm going to get you past the traumas and all that stuff. That's the part that Nicole is like, you could have utilized me. That's what she was telling Ted. That's what she was telling Anita. Da, 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 da. I think the greatest scene came out of Nicole this week, which we're going to talk about, and that is with Bill. After she does what she needs with Martin, she said, you go rest, and we'll start doing the work the next day. Mama's here. She goes and visits Bill, and she calls him a murderer in front of Haley and all this good stuff. Haley finally excuses herself, and she lays into him, da 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 da. I don't like you anyways, and why would you do all this, da 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 da. And Bill was like, I only did what was told to me by your family to do, da 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 da. Well, she said, from now on, you've been trying to fix stuff, even my marriage, that didn't work. I'm the fixer now. So bravo to Miss Daphne. I forgot her last name, but I think that she did a great job. I was glad to see Bill and Nicole mix it up. Both of them have great chemistry. People were trying to push them together. No, it was just cool to see them opposite of each other and creating great art. But y'all let me know what y'all thought about that scene. Miss Haley, she did show a snippet of an ultrasound of a baby. Bill was insisting on getting another ultrasound, and she said, we good, Poppy. I think she said that she was 12 weeks. How did we get to 12 weeks? How did we get to 12 weeks, ma'am? Y'all were just trying to do it and weren't getting pregnant, and then poof, all of a sudden you got pregnant, and now you're 12 weeks. That's 3 months. Can't wait to see where this goes. Bill had said, you know, you don't really look pregnant. Of course, she looked a little hesitant. She's like, is that a compliment or not? Da, 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 da. They joke about that. So, of course, she leaves when Nicole leaves or whatever. She goes to try to talk to Naomi and say, look, your father could possibly be a murderer. Do you think that that's possible? And she said, look, you want insight from me? Go ask your husband. You know, the one you stole? Go ask him. Like, you wanted him so bad, and we fell in love. That's all we heard for a very long time. So you should have learned as much as you were supposed to, besides open your legs. Yeah. Let's see. I guess there's a new storyline that's coming about pretty soon. Haley made a mysterious phone call. And she said that, you know, she expressed worry for whomever was on the line with her. And I was like, what is going on? Well, finally something interesting is happening with Haley, because Haley has been born. Since really Danny stopped messing with her like that, there's nothing going on, and her and Bill don't have anything going on. I've been like, I was about to really say, can y'all just go? Because there's nothing really there. She's just in scenes and defending Bill, wanting this marriage to work. It was just like, okay, whatever. But yeah, I wonder what this story's going to bring. Bill had meeting with the designer that's supposed to be suing Chelsea Cat, and Chelsea was like, what's going on here? And it was in such a way that he thought that Chelsea came to berate him about what just took place with Kenneth and everything that he had been involved with Mark. But it wasn't that. And Chelsea was like, is there something going on? He was like, no. Later on, he talked with Ted and told him about everything that's going on. There is some type of bond between them, and because they can relate to each other as being the outsiders of the Dupree family, like they are the in-laws, but at the same time, but you're expected to be this, da 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 da. I don't know if he said anything else, but whatever. Nicole, Bill. Haley comes home and just asks, you know, what is up? I heard what Nicole said, da 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 da. He ends up telling part of Martin's story, basically still leaving himself looking like an angel in this whole situation. That's basically it. I guess for now, that's enough for Haley to chew on, but we'll see if she jumps at any more that she wants to really find out about her husband. I already talked about Jacob and Naomi. Now Naomi and June, they met for just lunch or whatever, and June ended up paying. And now where did June get some money at? I know she's unhoused, but where is she getting the money from? But anyways, from the telephone number, Jacob was able to reverse the number and all that and find a address, and Naomi is going to follow up on that and to find out what is connected to this whole June thing, because, you know, last week she tried to call or the week before, and they just they hung up on her as soon as they mentioned June. So obviously something is going to be heating up pretty soon. Let's see. All right, Naomi. Okay, yeah. So Danny. So because Danny has been so unsure about her getting back into the modeling, because she thinks that she's too old for all that, Pam is like, look, there is interest in you out there, and I think you should do it. So she schedules a photo shoot for Danny. Pamela, yeah. And it's Andre. Andre is able to bring the best stuff out of her. And it's very magical, and I'm glad that it actually happened for her. So I'm glad that Danny has something to do now and stop doubting herself, you know? Let's see, nothing else, but we're going to talk a little bit more about Thomas and Eva and what they have been going on this week. After Eva did what she did as far as with Ted, she goes down to Orphan Genius and runs into Thomas. She tells Thomas what Kat did to her. He ends up letting a slip out that him and Kat have not had sex, and that she's a virgin. I said, wait a minute. Those are very deep, intimate things that you just gonna mention to someone, especially someone that this girl hates. You shouldn't have been telling nobody that. Somehow, Eva got Thomas to come back to her hotel, and I think Kat has her location. While there, she ends up showing him a bra. I felt like, she was like, oh, a little embarrassed and all that. Thomas was like, well, you're not the first person that I've seen. I've never seen, this is not the first bra I've seen. I feel like when she found out that Kat was still a virgin, Eva took it upon herself that she thought she needed to show this type of shyness and vulnerability and, you've been so forward and a little bit aggressive as to what you wanted from Thomas. So long story short, they get in the bed together and Thomas was ready to have sex with Eva. Kat interrupts. Well, something interrupts. No, Eva ended up interrupting it and saying, no, I don't want it to be factual of what Kat thinks that I actually am. She doesn't want Kat to really think that she's trash the way that Kat tells it as she is. So she says, we got to be in the friend zone. Thomas went as far as being in bed with this girl, about to get naked. Kat stops it. She confronts them. She doesn't know what's going on, but she still confronts it. Kat ends up leaving. Thomas is shaken by that, and that's when Eva ended up friend zoning him. Because he was saying other intimate things with Eva about how he feels about Kat. He doesn't really know where they stand, and doesn't know if she really wants to be in a relationship with them. So, and I was like, you're telling Eva all of that? That is crazy. So then finally Kat and Thomas had it out. He feels like anytime he wants to talk about himself, about even the relationship, everything turns back to Eva. You keep hanging around there, and she doesn't agree. You keep hanging around her, bringing her up, blah, 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 and I just don't understand why you do that. But she said that's not the thing, and allowed him to voice what he wanted to say. She said, I could see where you feel like, because what he said is that he felt like you're only hanging on to him because you know that Eva wants me. You were the one. I don't get it. This man was the one that approached her and was courting her and wanted her. And now Kat's only with him out of spite, just to make sure Eva doesn't get him. Y'all done kissed twice. You ain't told this girl what was going on. It was so weird, but from that point, all of a sudden, they started having sex. Kat gave up her virginity. I said, Kat, why did you do that? But some were like, oh, the writers just don't really see it for Kat. They must have been just all males that just, no. Kat is having a human moment. I don't blame her for that. She had a human moment. As in many of us, when we have given up our virginity to whomever, women, even though they don't really want to talk about the men give up their virginity too. And you can see the regret on her face after doing it. I'm like, he was not worth it whatsoever. Y'all were just arguing about something. It should have been special. No, I don't like it, but still Kat is having her own human moment. And thinking she was doing something that was right. Maybe she thought that this was going to keep him. Who knows? She has some insecurities. She's a stronger lady. But people do things that sometimes you're like, how did we get here? It happens a lot. So hopefully you guys can see that instead of just like acting like, ooh, the writers just chose. No, just go on this ride. But Thomas is trash. And there is nothing that Thomas should be about. I'm sorry. So, but that's all I have this week. Y'all give me your thoughts. I would love to hear your thoughts, at least about the whole Kat situation and Thomas situation. But Thomas is definitely trash and never should be mentioned. He doesn't deserve her. Don't really deserve Eva either. But Eva, you did come on to him first. And now you friend zoned him. Not for the sake that you cared about Kat. It's just that you don't want Kat to think that you are this horrible person that your semi is. Or are. Let me know. But I appreciate everyone for coming to my channel. Like this video. You can also subscribe. And until next week, peace.